When I look back now, it feels like a lifetime ago, though it has only been a few years. My name is Emily Carter, and I never thought one unexpected night would unravel truths about myself that I had buried for years, truths that would forever change the way my family saw me. It started with something so small, something so ordinary, that it almost felt too fragile to hold the weight of everything that followed. But that's how life works, doesn't it? The smallest, simplest moments end up altering everything. It was a cold November evening in Ohio, the kind where the air smelled of wood smoke and every gust of wind rattled the trees bare. My parents had decided to host a small family gathering since Thanksgiving was only a few weeks away. The Carter household had always been a place of warmth and laughter, even if behind the laughter there were shadows we rarely dared to speak of. That night, my cousin Daniel showed up. Daniel was only a year older than me, 22 at the time, and though we had grown up together, he had always been more like a big brother than a cousin. He lived a few towns over with his mom, my aunt, but after my uncle passed away, Daniel often seemed lost, drifting between places, looking for some sense of belonging. When he arrived, I noticed the exhaustion on his face. He looked like someone who had been carrying a burden far too heavy for too long. My mom greeted him warmly, as always, and soon the house was filled with the smell of chili on the stove and the sound of laughter from the living room where my dad and younger brother, Jason, were watching football. The night carried on with the usual family chatter. But when the clock struck past 11, it became clear that Daniel wasn't in any state to drive back home. The roads were icy, and his car had been giving him trouble lately. My mom immediately suggested he stay the night, and Daniel didn't protest. It wasn't the first time, after all. He had stayed with us many times before, though this time would be different. This time, the truth I had been hiding for years would finally find its way to the surface. We set up a place for him in the guest room, which was just across from mine. As everyone went off to bed, I found myself restless. I sat by my bedroom window, watching the frost spread across the glass, my thoughts running endlessly. That was when I heard a soft knock at my door. It was Daniel. "Hey, you still up?" he asked quietly. "Yeah," I said, pulling my blanket tighter around me. "Can't sleep." He gave a small smile and stepped inside. He sat down at the edge of my bed, the same way he used to when we were kids during summer sleepovers. Only now we weren't kids anymore. For a moment, we just sat in silence, the only sound being the ticking of the clock on my nightstand. Then he said something that cracked open the very first layer of truth. "I don't know where I belong anymore, he admitted, his voice low and trembling. "Ever since Dad passed, I feel like I've been pretending. Pretending I'm okay. Pretending I can handle everything. But the truth is, I can't." Something about his words struck me deeply because they mirrored the feelings I had been carrying inside myself. For years, I had hidden who I really was, afraid that if my family knew, I'd no longer belong. Afraid that if the truth came out, I'd break the fragile idea of normal they all seemed to hold so tightly. I hesitated, my throat tightening. "I know what that feels like," I whispered. He looked at me, his eyes searching mine. "Do you?" And that's when it happened, the night when I could no longer carry the weight of silence. I told him my truth, that I wasn't the person everyone thought I was, that the smile I wore at family gatherings, the laughter, the role of the perfect daughter, wasn't the whole me. Deep down, I was struggling with my identity, my place in the world, and fears of rejection from the people I loved most. Daniel didn't say anything at first. He just listened, really listened in a way no one ever had. He didn't judge, didn't interrupt, didn't try to fix it. He just let me speak, let me pour out the years of hiding, of shame, of fear. By the time I finished, tears had blurred my vision, and I felt like I was standing exposed in front of him. And then, quietly, he said, "You're still you. Nothing changes that. You're my family. You're my best friend. And I'm proud of you for telling me." That was the moment I realized the truth didn't have to destroy me. It could set me free. The next morning, things felt different. I was lighter somehow, though terrified of what would come next. I knew eventually I'd have to tell the rest of my family. And as the days turned into weeks, I did. Slowly, Carefully, I share my truth with my mom, my dad, and eventually Jason. At first, it wasn't easy. My mom cried, not because she was disappointed, but because she hated that I had suffered in silence for so long. My dad was quiet, withdrawn, and I worried I had lost him. But later, he came to me, put his hand on my shoulder, and said, "You'll always be my daughter. That doesn't change." Jason, in his teenage bluntness, simply said, "Cool. Can we still play video games later?" And somehow, that simplicity was exactly what I needed. The truth changed us. It wasn't smooth. There were arguments, misunderstandings, tears. But there was also growth. Our family became more open, more willing to listen, more accepting. And it all started that night when Daniel stayed over and gave me the courage to stop hiding. Looking back now, I realized the truth didn't just change our family, it saved us. It showed us that love doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. Love means seeing each other fully, flaws and all, and choosing to stay.